Shut up, fool!
Stop listening to atheist YouTubers.
Hey, man! This makes sense!
What was that bald guy doing there? He didn't say anything. Myron, fix that. He was supposed to say something. He was supposed to swear, like a Christian swearing. Yeah, I'm an atheist. I don't swear. Because I got morals. I'm just kidding. Actually, if I swore a bit more, I might be even happier. Isn't there science research studies that swearing helps you, like, it's like a cathartic thing? Anyhow, yeah, I saw someone said I'm stirring the pot here today. Michael says I'm stirring the pot. How Andrew Tate and Jesus and Christianity are similar. I really mean this. I'm not just saying this as a way to be a fishers of men. There's a lot of similarities. And so I find it interesting when I see guys like David Wood, who's a Christian, really push back against people like Andrew Tate, rightfully so, I think, but yet not see the similarities of within his own religion. Essentially, here's my take. Welcome if you're new here. My take is Andrew Tate has created a cult. That's fair to say, right? He's really good at manipulating people, getting people to do what he wants. He's like a cult leader. He's very charismatic. And I would say Jesus was charismatic, or at least the writings that he's reported to have said, that he gained a following. He gets people to do what he wants through rewards and threats. This is what Andrew Tate did. Andrew Tate used promises of great things and threats or maybe guilt if you don't do what he wants. Isn't that Christianity? Okay, guys, thanks for coming in. We're done. That's basically it. You seriously, you could click off now. But Apostate Prophet, I think, does a great job of highlighting a lot of things about Andrew Tate in this court case, and let the process proceed. I don't think I have strong opinions other than let the courts do what they do. But I will say this. It is not a crime, at least not in the United States, to start a cult. Did you guys know that? It is not a crime to manipulate people's minds. In and itself, I'm sure you could come up with exceptions if it depends on what it is, but I do not think it's a crime to be a cult leader, to start a cult, to use various rewards and punishments, depending what they are. Like if it's direct violence, then that's of course a crime, but basically convincing people, that's not a crime. Should I put up the live stream chat to keep people honest here? Accountable, I should say, not honest. Yeah, let's see here. Let's do that. But where am I going to put it? Let's put it down here. Can you guys see that? Okay, let's see what Apostate Prophet has. And I'm going to demonstrate here for David Wood Because I honestly think this is how you change people's minds. I think it's fair to say David Wood really dislikes Andrew Tate. And if he can see similarities between Jesus/Christianity to Andrew Tate, he's going to go, I made a mistake.
I want to break it down to make it very simple here. So a lot of people, that is one of the main problems. A lot of people don't seem to understand what human trafficking actually is. A lot of people don't seem to understand what Andrew Tate is being accused of. And even Tucker Carlson himself in the interview, he says at the very beginning, and by the way, no woman has so far come forth and accused them of kidnapping them and holding them against their will and forcing them to do this and that. I don't know why I'm going back to my German accent lately.
Yeah, and so far nobody, at least in today's age, very seldom are people forced into Christianity, right? So how do people become Christians? Do you think it's because they're convinced of the evidence? Well, that might be the case, but I really doubt it. It's more so about the tactics Andrew Tate uses.
But that is not the issue. The issue here is, in most cases of human trafficking, what happens is not that some dark van, some black van with some tinted windows comes and kidnaps the people and takes them to some place, puts cages on their legs and puts them in cages and forces them to do things and beats them if they don't do it and barely gives them food and so on. That's not what happens. What happens in most cases of human trafficking is that the victims are lured through false promises, through deception.
Yes, they're lured through false promises. What's Christianity? They're lured into this promise of eternal life, that your sins will be forgiven, that you'll have a clean slate, a fresh start. You'll be born again.
Through fraud, and then under different circumstances pressured into doing things which they prior to that never agreed to, and then exploited for money. And because of that reason,
yeah, probably Christianity is not so much exploited for money, except for when it comes to tithes and offerings. What else? Buying certain apologetic books to support your tribe.
The United Nations has recognized a certain model that over 180 countries in the world have also recognized, by which they judge, which also applies in the USA, by the way, called the AMP model, which is action means purpose.
Okay, David Wood, I hope you're listening to this, because I'm going to relate the AMP model to Christianity.
Human trafficking. And in this one, it shows very clearly here on this chart that this is what is human trafficking. So action induce, recruits, harbors, transports, provides, or obtains. In this case, we would say recruits, right? Or transports. That's what Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate.
Yeah, and what is it? A Christian evangelism. It's recruiting, right? It's spreading the good news. It's conjuring up a need that previously wasn't there. Like, what's an example? Someone's just living their life, having a good day, and then they're approached by an evangelist saying, "Do you know where you're going to go when you die? Are you a good person? Do you think heaven and hell are real? And if they are, do you know where you're going?" That's inducing a need that wasn't previously there, because the person was just walking down the street, minding their own business, having a happy life. And then all of a sudden they're introduced with this existential threat or question.
To their victims, they recruit them or they transport them
and induce, because remember, he said that most of these girls had no thought of doing any sort of pornography. He had to get them to want to do it for him.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this case is I think it's always a good practice that if you're trying to be consistent, like would Apostate Prophet and David Wood be even talking about this, if everything Andrew Tate did was to get women to sell life insurance? How much does the pornography play a part in this? because I don't think pornography in itself is wrong. It can be wrong, but in itself, no, it's not wrong. So how much of this whole idea is pornography making Andrew Tate like this villain if he was just selling life insurance? Hey, come down to Romania. I mean, I want to marry you. And then when the woman gets there, she finds out that she's being coerced to sell life insurance. Like, would things change? Would it be different?
It means it says force, fraud, or coercion.
All of the above.
All of the above. So you could say induce, recruit, and transport.
Yeah, transport doesn't really apply to Christianity, and I guess that's the key part of trafficking, right? Is the transporting. But just manipulating someone's mind is not a crime.
Combine that with force, fraud, or coercion, and then commercial sex. You have the chain here. This, and this coming together is human trafficking. And the courts will judge by that.
Yeah, the thing is, coercion, force, these are subjective terms, because when I think of coercion and force, I think of the big stuff like gun to your head. But it could just mean like, for some people, guilt tripping them is force enough. Fortunately, those tactics have never really worked well on me. You can't guilt trip me. It's very difficult to guilt trip a guy like me. And maybe that's why I left Christianity.
And I want to point out, if you look at this AMP model, it is exactly what Andrew Tate spent years telling his fans that he was doing, and telling his fans to sign up for his PhD course so he could train them to follow the same method. By the way, I mentioned it in a previous live stream. I was watching an interview with a pimp. There's a pimp who's been a pimp since like the 70s or something. He's like an old pimp now, but he's like anyway, he's like the king of pimps. And he was the interviewer asked him, like, what about like when you have to beat a woman, and the guy goes, you ain't got to beat him. You do, if you do it right, you're the best thing that's ever happened to them as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, and this is similar to Christianity as well. Like, if you're doing your job well in Christianity, you don't have to force people. They're renewed from the inside. They'll want to do it, right?
And the way he was putting it, he thinks you're like an amateur if you have to beat women, rather than brainwashing them so thoroughly that you're like their hero.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I want to make one thing clear here. So we put this model out here, right? And some people think, okay, well, is that really what he did? And who says this is a crime? First off, if you like it or not, this is for a reason recognized across the world as a typical model which constitutes human trafficking, and people are judged therefore. If we come to what Andrew Tate actually did, there is a lot of misconceptions around what he actually did, how he actually recruited his.
I'm wondering, I just saw this, I haven't thought it through, but does the US military use the AMP model? Recruit, induce, conjure up like for your country. In fact, when I even came to the University of Arizona, did they use the AMP model on me? They paid for my flight to fly from Canada to Arizona. They promised by showing statistics of me getting a job or the success rates, but here's the means. Like, is the means coercion? Was I forced to? I wasn't forced to go in that plane. Was I coerced? Well, they offered me a lot of money if I came, like if I went to school there. What's the purpose? Well, it was definitely not for sex. But labor services? Well, they got cheap labor when I was a TA, teaching assistant, very cheap labor. I did a lot of stuff that professors should be doing. You know, this is the scary thing about this. You can apply the AMP model to a lot of things. But I think because it's sex, pornography, it makes it worse in most people's minds.
His girls, his women. Let me tell you step by step what he did to the 6 of the victims here in question. One of them is different. One of them is actually autistic, and she was kind of lured under weird circumstances. We'll get to that. But 6 of these victims, and all the others who are probably not named, what he did was the following. Andrew Tate meets a woman online. He targets a woman online. He compliments her, meets her, acts like he is this very romantic, very nice guy. You know, he wants to take care of her. He's so much in love with her. He really likes her character, the way she is. But he also asserts his dominance to her, charms her. And you have to give the guy one thing: he has mastered the skill of charming and manipulating people. Yeah, we can give him that. As you can see, he
used it on his girls, and now he uses it on his fans.
He uses it on the girls, on the Muslim community, and all.
The thing is, my guess is that his charm only works on certain types of girls. I would say that his charm would only work on the girls that weren't loved by their father at home, or weren't shown enough love by their fathers at home. Now, some people are just going to call me a crazy boomer when I say that, but I truly believe that. Like, I mean, if you're raised well, I don't think you're going to, it's not impossible, but it's less probable you're going to fall for this type of cultish, charismatic behavior.
He charms and convinces these women that he loves them and he wants them to live with him for a
Yeah, think of Jesus. Jesus loves you. He wants to live with you by indwelling you with his Holy Spirit.
Quite a long time this goes on. He then convinces them to live with him and fly in to Romania, or if they are in Romania, to take them somewhere else in Romania.
Yeah, this is the trafficking part. This is the transporting part.
Put them into a certain place where they will then live with him. These women know nothing about the business, know nothing about the porn, nothing about TikTok, nothing about OnlyFans at this point.
Yeah, and this is similar to Christianity. When you're an evangelist and you're out on the street, or you go to a country and you're providing food or whatever, the people know nothing what they're getting themselves into. They know nothing about Christianity, and but they're promised this idea, or they're given this thing called love and compassion.
They come in, say a girl from the UK, after meeting him and being convinced that this guy is actually coming for the rescue, because he also specifically says that he targets women who are vulnerable, who don't have much, and who are hoping.
Yes, that's exactly like Christianity, especially if you're trying to convert people who are already adults and they haven't been indoctrinated. You target the vulnerable. Like, how in the world would an evangelist convince me to become a Christian? Assuming I came from Christianity, but assuming I didn't. Like someone who doesn't need to pray to God to help them pay the electric bill. Someone who's loved by their parents, loved by their family. I love them, they love me, stable. No, here's a tip to Christian evangelists. If you want to convert people into Christianity who are not from a Christian background, you need to put heaps of love on them, and you need to target the vulnerable, the people who have a genuine need. They're sad. They're lonely. They have existential angst. They just came out of divorce. They just got bankrupt. A loved one just died. They're sick. They're dying. Whatever. Your success rate will go sky high.
For somebody to come and help them out. This is what kind of a scumbag this guy is.
Hang on, I just got a text. It's from Jesus. Jesus says, yeah, me and Andrew Tate are best buds. We're like brothers. Okay. David Wood's gonna hate me.
Targets the woman. The woman is finally convinced, leaves everything she has, flies over on a plane paid by Andrew Tate to Romania and lands. Andrew Tate then sends a message and says, "Hey, I'm out of town, or I'm out of the country. I'm traveling. I'm busy right now, but a friend of mine will pick you up and take care of you and bring you to the home." And that is one of those two girls.
That's exactly what happened to me when they tried to recruit me to the University of Arizona. The professor said, "Hey, come on down here. I'll be your advisor. You'll do great research." And then when I flew into the airport, some low-level grad student picked me up from the airport. Here I was expecting the professor to be there. I was so dejected.
Georgiana or Luana. They pick up the girl, take her to the house, put her in the house, and the girl is then put in this house and introduced to all the other girls who are also there. And she's like, "Wait a minute! I thought I'm coming here to live with Andrew, whom I love very much. I thought I'm here to marry him, or to at least be a couple together somehow." And they're like, yeah, that's all okay. We will take care of that. And Andrew is busy right now. When he comes, he will take care of that. But meanwhile, I just wanted you to see what we are doing. We all love Andrew Tate very much, and he provides for us. And by the way, we do this little business.
So the question is, and I don't know the answer to this, but is any of this illegal? Is it illegal to charm, use emotional manipulation to get someone to go on a plane, fly across the ocean, and come into a house? I think up to this point, I don't think any of that's illegal, is it? Now, if it's a minor, I think definitely it is. But if you're a grown adult, I don't think it is. Like I said, I don't think it's a crime to manipulate people's thoughts.
And we make a lot of money and so on. I'm really going very fast to this. They have a lot of steps in order to make the girl get used to the idea that they are doing online porn. If the girl ends up not liking what she sees and thinking, "Okay, I just came here to marry Andrew Tate. I have no idea about all this stuff, and I'm feeling very uncomfortable with all of this." They use
like what's this is like, everybody knows I'm a big personal responsibility type person, but where's the personal responsibility level bars here? Like, do you just say some people are so stupid we can't assign any responsibility on them for getting on a plane, flying across the ocean, because they were so stupid to believe that they're going to marry this stranger who they've never met in person before? Now, don't get me wrong, there's blame on Andrew Tate, but let's put some, I'll say it, blame on the victim here. They were stupid, right?
Tactics like trying to take a photo of her, putting it out there, or saying, "Hey, look, we make this much money and we get to keep all of this. We live such a wonderful life." Or even saying stuff like, "Hey, wait a minute, you flew here. Andrew Tate brought you here. He paid for your ticket. He paid for all of your needs, for everything. Are you really just going to, go back?" And
Yes, you will. You say thank you for the free flight and you fly home. Well, that's the question. Do you have money to fly home? See, that's the thing. If you're so stupid to fly one way without a ticket back, like, you got to have some responsibility on the women here at this point. But this is like Christianity, where if you're thinking of apostatizing from Christianity, and a deacon or elder comes up to you and says, "What are you doing? Don't you realize Jesus died for you? It cost him so much. And this is how you're going to repay him, by just leaving?" This is the same in this situation.
not even be thankful for that, not even do anything about that. If that doesn't help, what they do is to then say, these are debts, by the way. This guy paid for you. You have to pay this off somehow.
Yes. You owe Jesus a debt. You need to give your life and obey him. Love him. Worship him. Because he paid a price for your soul. And you're just going to leave now? No. You should stay and serve him.
And they slowly introduced him to the business. And once they are in there, I have to say, once they're in there, at this point, the entire crime of human trafficking has already been established. This is by definition human trafficking, has already been established. But after that, it continues, it goes on. They are constantly made to work a lot, threatened with violence or with other implied things.
Yeah, and how does this apply to Christianity? You're threatened with eternal damnation if you don't comply with certain things. All those who live a life of sexual immorality shall not inherit the kingdom of heaven. Faith without works is dead. Take up your cross, run the good race. Love the Lord your God with all your soul, heart, soul, and strength. Lean not on your own understanding. This is very similar to Andrew Tate. I know what's best for you. Do this for me.
Treated like slaves by Andrew Tate.
Yeah, treated like slaves. Be slaves, therefore, to Christ. I'm explaining, I'm showing how Andrew Tate is a cult leader and Jesus Christ is a cult leader, which became so popular it's now a religion.
And exploited for money and for work. This is like, let's say I, a man, I meet some guy online. For some reason, he convinces me so much that I should come there and live with him and have the best time of my life ever.
Where's AP getting this info from? I think this is something from the United Nations of how they define human trafficking. But I think you need all three steps here: action, means, and purpose. If the purpose is not there, it's not human trafficking. In other words, if you're not doing it for commercial sex trafficking, or labor trafficking, if you're not exploiting them, it is not a crime to use your charisma and emotional manipulation to get someone to go on a plane and travel through some type of guilt or promise of reward. That is not a crime. But if you then follow up and exploit them through either sex or through other labor, like selling life insurance, then it becomes a crime. I think, if I'm reading this correctly, that's how it works.
And I go there and land. And once I land there, he says, "Oh, by the way, he's not even there. Somebody else comes and picks me up, then puts me in a home where there are a lot of other people, and says, oh, hey, we are all here. We all came here from other places, and what we do here is we knit stuff here all day, and we give all of that to our boss, who then sells it and takes most of the profit. This is what we are doing." And I was then somehow made to stay there and to work just like them, under coercion, under fraud, under threats, and so.
Yeah, and the thing is, coercion and threats can be viewed like someone can say something, and someone over there can say that's a threat. Whereas if the same thing said to me, I probably would just laugh it off. No, it's not threatening me. So it's very subjective. Now, some cases are very clear, like if there's a weapon involved, yeah, that's a threat. But if it's words, some people are very threatened by words. Other people are not threatened by words at all. It depends how emotionally stable you are, how old you are. Yeah, young people are more susceptible to verbal threats than older people, I think, because older people have been beaten around by life quite a bit more, have more experience. Like, those people who are in the parking lots who say that they ran out of gas and they need money. When you're young, you fall for that once, maybe twice, but by the time you're older, you go, this guy's a scammer. I remember one day, I was in a bad mood. I was in a parking lot, and I saw a guy with this gas tank in a Albertsons parking lot, and he was coming right for me. And he was about, 50 yards away from me. And I pointed right at him, turn around and go away. Before he even said anything. And he just turned around and walked away. Yeah.
So on. That accepted as sexual, and it's vulnerable women specifically targeted for this. This is human trafficking. And this is precisely what Andrew Tate and Thurston Tate did. And we have a lot of evidence for that, and we will go into those as well.
And
Yeah, I don't know how much more I want to say about this, but I just wanted to point out to David Wood that some of the same tactics Andrew Tate uses is what Christians use, evangelists use, and even what Jesus used. I have come to give you life, and life to the full. God loves his children. You are special in his sight. You've been adopted into the family. This is all biblical stuff. This is how Andrew Tate gets people in. Promise of love, devotion, family. I think I'll open up to the room. I'm going to put up a poll on Andrew Tate. I'm curious. How do I say this? My impression of Andrew Tate is leaning good, leaning bad. This might be a no-brainer question, but maybe what you used too, Doug? Oh, you're talking about manipulation? I actually think that most conversation, besides just, I don't know. No, I'll just say most conversation is a form of manipulation. Even as you're at the dinner table and someone says, pass the salt, please. That's very simple, but that's a type of manipulation. You're using words to get people to do what you want. You want salt, pass the salt, please. When you're talking about politics or religion or anything else, and you're having this type of debate of ideas, you're trying to manipulate the other person to think like you think. Or at least understand you. You're trying to manipulate them into understanding you. You're sounding like a narcissist right now. No, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, this is what I expected. I think very few people have a good impression about Andrew Tate. But then the question, a better poll question would be, how much of what Andrew Tate says do you agree with? Let's do that poll. That's more interesting. How much of what Andrew Tate says do you agree with? We'll go something like 0 to 20%, 21 to 40%. Will it give me 5? 41 to 60%. Yeah, it does. 61% and above. This will be interesting. Pass the salt is now triggering. Hang on, let me redo that. Because Andrew Tate says stuff I agree with. I've heard him say things I agree with. Can't think of any off the top of my head, but I remember listening to him at one time saying, yeah, I agree with that in my head. Yes, think activo. The only reason why you guys are here listening right now is because I've manipulated you through my charm and charisma. The key to deception is sprinkling in truth with lies. Yep, I agree with that. That's the truth. Wow, we got 22% are huge, I think, Andrew Tate fans. The pimp said you should go for the young virgins and use them, then go and get the next one. If that's not the devil, then what is? How would I answer this? Yeah, I think it would be at least 0 to 20%. I'd be in that top bracket. That's another thing, the difference between people. If someone really finds another human despicable for in one area of their life, they feel this need that they can't agree with anything with them. And that's a mistake. That's a huge mistake. Okay, let me open up the room. The topic is cults. I believe Andrew Tate is a cult leader, a very good one. And I believe the following around Jesus was similar. And actually, even today, not all Christian churches, but there are definitely certain churches within Christianity that are very controlling. Just as controlling as Andrew Tate, or as manipulative as him. Like David, you're in the live stream here, and I view you as a very vulnerable guy. After our conversation, I would view you as the type of person who would be very susceptible to a cult. I'm just saying it as I see it. Okay, what's the final poll results? 53%, half of you agree with 0 to 20%, 20%, 61% and above. Bad take, you think? Okay. Room's open, just press the pin link. You can talk about anything you want, but the topic is about Andrew Tate and the cult that he's started. What do you think happens when he gets convicted? Will the following rise or fall? Oh, it'll probably fall somewhat. Although, might stay the same. But you're pretty confident he'll be convicted. I'm not as confident as you. To me, it's like the type of trafficking he's done is the difference between statutory rape and violent rape. And I would put this, what he's done, in the statutory rape column, even though from my understanding, there's been no underage girls. But has there? I don't know. There has been. Then he's in, I think, trouble. But using emotional manipulation to convince girls to do things for him is technically not a crime. It's the exploiting of it with threats of violence where it becomes a crime. Like if I use my charismatic skills to convince B. Guzman to sell life insurance for me, that's not a crime. If I make him promises that are even false, but it's one of these promises that you never know, it could come out true. False expectations, in other words. There's always exceptions, but I don't think that's a crime. If it was a crime, then Christianity would be a crime. Right? Yeah, stealing money is definitely would be a crime. And that will come out during the court hearing. Does anybody disagree with anything I've said? If you have, you can come on in and talk to me. No, I haven't. Rape is definitely a crime. But as far as I know, it's not a crime to manipulate people, convince them in a charming way to get on a plane and cross the ocean. I think that in itself is not a crime. The left is making Christianity a crime. Yeah, what do I think about that? I don't think that's good. I think if someone wants to believe in Scientology, in Vishnu, in Allah, they should have the right to believe false things. But I'm just pointing out that the tactics that evangelists use are similar to the tactics Andrew Tate uses. If someone disagrees with that, they can come on and let me know why. Like, look at Ray Comfort. Like, his opening questions are all about heaven and hell. Where are you going to go when you die? Fear, reward, emotional manipulation. Those guys on the street corners that hold the signs, you're going to burn in hell if you are not a Christian. And unfortunately, stupid people fall for it. But technically, it's not a crime to fool stupid people. I mean, think of advertising. Advertising is all about fooling stupid people, right? Buy my product that you don't need. Now, some products you need, but for the most part, most of the stuff we buy, we don't need. You look so good in that dress. I don't need that dress, but you would look fabulous. Okay, I'll buy the dress. Here's my money. Here's my wallet. Open it up, take out what you think is fair. Christians should have 666 tattooed on their foreheads to warn other people. The sign of the beast. It's actually not 666, right? Yeah, advertising is pure manipulation. And if we're all very honest with ourselves, I mean, completely honest with ourselves, there's times when we all enjoy manipulating others. Don't be self-righteous and pious sitting in your mother's basement right now thinking, no, that's not me. No, when you've, let's say, won an argument, you feel good, right? But what you've done is you've manipulated people into thinking like you think. This is why I champion the idea of being more dead inside. If you're a 19, 20-year-old young woman right now listening, which is almost impossible because you wouldn't listen to my channel. But if you're ever going to listen to this, if you take my advice, you will protect yourself from guys like Andrew Tate. Be more dead inside. When a guy says he thinks you're beautiful and he loves you and blah, 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 makes all these promises, you can say thank you and smile. But don't for 1 second start thinking about getting on planes to go meet him. Like, what's wrong with you? Douche, douche. You're welcome. I have 16-year-olds listening to my channel? No. If you are under 18 and you're listening to this channel right now, go tell your mommy and daddy where you are. Shame on you. But I highly doubt there's anybody under 18 listening right now. Except for maybe my son might see it. He's 17. That's my son. That's my property. Dumb women don't get excuses. Well, dumb men don't either. Man, if you see a woman who's promising you sex and a life of paradise, there's a good chance she's just after your money, right? Yeah, good point, Cutlass. Sometimes manipulation is showing someone that their interest actually is the same as yours. Oh, I hate that word, holistically. That's something that's a word a cult leader would use. Holistically. Hi, Doug. What is your thoughts on consent? I think consent goes up as your prefrontal cortex develops. The ability to consent goes up. Right now, we have an arbitrary line in the sand called 18 years old. Are people born with the ability to manipulate? Oh, yes. Definitely. Some people win the genetic lottery. Why do I say lottery? Because they can use that to manipulate, make money. Like, you don't think Raquel Welch can manipulate men to get what she wants? Or to push them in a certain direction? If someone's speeding and it's close, like they're speeding by 5 miles an hour, barely speeding, and they get pulled over, if you're an ugly man, you're getting a ticket. If he's already pulled you over, the officer, you're getting a ticket. If you're a beautiful woman, your probability of just getting a warning goes up. If you're a well-balanced, stable individual, narcissists will have no impact on you. You have to be basically a weaker-minded person for a narcissist to actually affect you. Why does it take so long for people to get the courage to call in? I don't understand it. Yeah, I said 5 over. Could be 20. Should be 20 over. I agree. Men and women are fundamentally different. On average, definitely. Men are more the risk takers. Men have testosterone. Way more testosterone than women. Women are more the nurturers. They're higher on the empathy levels. The distribution curves are separated by a gap. I used to think that it didn't really matter if you had diversity in the workplace when it comes to sex, male, female. But I think I've recently changed my mind on that. I think it does matter. Because the law of averages says that if you have too many women on a board, you will get a skewed, more touchy-feely, care about people's feelings more than, let's say, the truth. Oh, now people are going to call in. I got a paper to back that up. Several papers, actually. Scientific papers to show that. And that sometimes you do need a balance. And you need those, what some people would view as non-compassionate men to say, no, this is the truth. This is right. And we don't care what their feelings are. They can cry. That's fine. Let them cry. Where I think on average, women are less likely to talk that way. Yes, women should vote. For the reason I just gave. We need both. We evolved to be different for a reason, so we can survive and reproduce. Yeah, I agree, vitamin C. Men have been put down in the last decade or two. I don't know how long. And Andrew Tate is also filling that void. He's not a cult leader to women. He's more so a cult leader to men. Wouldn't it be great if David Wood called in? David Wood, do you see any similarities between Andrew Tate and Christianity? No, Doug. There's no similarities at all. Well, what about, promise of reward and threats of violence if you leave, rewards if you stay? No. That's a category error, Doug. That's a category error. You can't compare a mere mortal Andrew Tate to the God of the universe, Jesus. What about Andrew Tate using things like love? Marriage isn't like Christ, the church, the bride of Christ, and using that symbolism of marriage and love, and that's how Andrew Tate lured people. No. You can't compare the two. What about the need? Like Christianity gives people this hope. It satisfies them. They feel special that Jesus died for them, and Andrew Tate makes these girls feel special that he wants to marry them. No. You can't compare the two. No. Should women be banned from playing sports? They're pretty awful at it, especially when there are plenty of ironing to be done. No, sports are such an amazing thing. 99.5% of people will never make money in sports, but sports teaches you discipline, perseverance, which are great things for both sexes. Yes, it is true. I am a cult leader. But you're free to leave any time. But if you do leave this live stream chat right now, you know the punishment's coming your way? What if Andrew Tate calls in? Yes, men are the head of the households. There's a lot of similarities between Christianity and Islam. Like in Christianity, David, if you read the Bible, you'll see very clearly that women are property in the Bible. A girl is owned by their father until she gets married, and then the husband owns the girl, the woman. Property. Look at the Ten Commandments. Women are put right side by side to oxen on what not to covet. So don't give me this business that Jesus was the great feminist liberator. No. Jesus said not one stroke of the pen will be removed from the old law. I think Tate is a Neanderthal that slipped through the cracks. No. Tate, whether you like him or hate him, you have to admit he's brilliant at what he does. You can't say that, Doug. You can't use the word brilliant as an adjective in front of Andrew Tate. He's very charismatic. He's good at thinking on his feet. He's good at manipulating people. Oh, really? Yeah, Destiny never got back to me. I invited him on my show. Or I'll go on his. Let me put another poll up here. Adolf was brilliant in a lot of ways too. Yes, B. Guzman. If you lean left, like language like this just makes you feel icky. Got to remember, Germany almost conquered the world twice. No theists here today. You gotta be kidding me. Usually I get 15%. I guess the title, I shouldn't have done this title. It scared them all away. No, David, you're in here. You're a theist. You just haven't voted yet. I super chatted him and said PineCreek or nah, and it got deleted quick. You super chatted who? Jacob. Yeah, it's true. It's Tuesday, not Thursday. All the theists have their calendars marked for Thursday, not Tuesday. How do you just show up? I guess I have to do some research. Well, now we got 5 theists in here. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for trying, Jacob. Can we have a poll on who's African American, who's white? Actually, yeah. I laughed, but why did I laugh? There's nothing wrong with a poll like that. I'm going to see my demographics. I am white, brown, I better say more white, more brown. I'll tell you the truth. The black people love me. Just ask my wife. You guys can choose the color separation between white and brown. Well, look at this. I have an overrepresentation of people of color. Well, no, what's the percentage in the United States? If you count African Americans, Asians, non-African American, black, Hispanics. I mean, it gets confusing after a while. Like, I'm Italian. I'm from the south side, Italy. Are you more brown? More white? I don't know. It's black, not African, technically. Africans are a Berber tribe who call themselves. No, it's African American is pointing to a certain sect, a certain culture that have a lineage that came with the slave trade. So all African Americans are black, but not all black people are African Americans. Oh yeah, Indians. I love East Indians. I also love the Jews. That cannot be hate speech if you put the word love in it. Okay, that's another poll. That was 75-25. I am female, male, both. See who my audience is. There should be no females here. Not because I don't want them, but because they usually don't show up. We got some females here? You're way outside your natural environment. Like a female being on the PineCreek live stream is like a lion escaping from the zoo. Don't you know, females, you're out in the wild right now? No protection? I have a feeling that the females who are here can take jokes like that. Wow, we got intersex people here? Excellent. Actually, you know what? I'm being dead serious. If there's an intersex person watching right now, can you call in? Guzman, I'm not going to scare the women away. Well, it looks like one left. No. The women are here, are strong. Some of you men who are here are weak. You know who you are. Okay, what other demographic questions can I say? So this is about what I get from my YouTube analytics. About 90% men. I am black from the US and was adopted by people of Germanic and Eastern European heritages. Interesting. You're like that woman in Django Unchained. Can you speak High German? Gerwalk? Ahmed.
How are you?
Oh, I got you really loud. I'm doing well, thank you. Let me turn you down, though. Okay, try that.
Is it okay if I keep myself off camera?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, good.
So, are you a Andrew Tate fan?
Also, the subject is Andrew Tate?
Oh, no, it doesn't have to be. We can talk about whatever you want. But I'm just curious, are you an Andrew Tate fan?
I've recently heard about him, only recently. And I think the only reason why he even came in my radar is when he converted to Islam. Hold on. No, I did hear about him before, but it was just like, you hear about Dolly Parton, And but then when he accepted Islam, that's when it really like especially because of the Christian apologists like David Wood, Apostate Prophet. Um, those two have really made Andrew Tate huge in the Muslim community because of their disapproval of Andrew Tate. So in
Do you
turn,
think Apostate Prophet and David Wood would even be talking about Andrew Tate if Andrew Tate had nothing to do with Islam?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Absolutely not. I think that Apostate Prophet definitely has a huge axe to grind with Muslims, and he's taking out his vengeance on Muslims by attacking Islam without relentlessly. And
So, you know, but
go
some
ahead.
people say the same thing about me, that I have a huge axe to grind against Christianity. But I tell a lot of Christians to stay Christian. I think most of them are harmless. They can believe what they want to believe. Do you think, doesn't Apostate Prophet say something similar, or do you think he's more against Islam than I am Christianity?
I only recently started listening to you, and remember that gentleman, that the pastor with the long beard?
Yeah,
Yeah, someone
Joe.
I forget his name, but someone posted a link to that, and they really spoke highly of how dialogue should happen. And I was like, let me check this out. And yeah, so that's when I started listening to you, and I've been hooked, man. And I appreciate your approach. Like, look, you're so patient. You're listening. Like, I think you have the strength to allow someone to complete their thought, and then once you grasp where their logic is going, then you say something. And I think that's very incredibly
Well, sometimes it's tough
strong
though,
on your part.
like
I can imagine.
because people will, like, if I don't cut people off, sometimes they just want to talk and talk and talk forever.
Yes. Comparing you to Apostate Prophet, I just find that Apostate Prophet would pick at anything from Islam just to get back at Muslims. Are his points valid? Are they within reason? Sure, I won't take that away from him. But I think that sometimes you can't just pick on everything and anything. You need to have some sort of a of a of a yardstick, because otherwise you're gonna lose your critique. Like the respect that people have for your critique, you will lose that. For example, the fact that Apostate Prophet and David Wood are tag teams par excellence, to me that's laughable, because David Wood is anti-atheist as anti-atheist can be. But for the sake of attacking Islam, he's teamed up with a person who literally doesn't believe in God. But David has no qualms about that.
Yeah, well, I honestly don't think that's that bad, because, like, I'm a conservative atheist who align myself with Christians on a lot of things here in the United States. Like, I'm against women competing. I'm sorry, men competing in women's sports. I'm against the transitioning of kids, surgically, or hormones, with the transgender issue. I'm against men going in women's changing rooms. And a lot of Christians feel just as strong as me on these. So I think sometimes it's okay to align yourself with them.
I think that's different. I think that's different. For example, David Wood does not. David Wood believes strictly in a triune God,
Yeah.
and and Apostate Prophet is definitely against that. So this is tag teaming for the sake of one common enemy. But once that common enemy is gone, those two would have to face each other just by definition. Let me give you an example. Remember Ravi Zacharias,
Mm-hmm.
the greatest ministry or the greatest preacher. I think that's what Christians labeled him. When during his lifetime, those allegations were brought up during his lifetime, and Christians brushed it off.
Yep.
And especially David Wood. He did everything in his power to make sure that anyone who said anything against Ravi Zacharias, that he would make sure to put them in their place. And when eventually Ravi died, just like we all will one day, and when it was finally proven that the man, he went above and beyond to try to satisfy his sexual needs. When it was finally proven, David Wood acknowledged it and basically said, well, he's not Christian, or what he did does not represent Christianity.
I'm just thinking Ravi Zacharias and Andrew Tate have some things in common.
Yeah, for sure. So what David Wood basically, he threw Ravi under the bus and basically said that, well, that's not Christian. Sure, that's not Christian, but at the same time, there's a contradiction here. Ravi Zacharias preached, the idea that you need, that Islam is wrong because of the multiple wives, and Islam is wrong because of this and that. All of that was all part of his preaching. But the natural Ravi Zacharias, not the intellectual one, the natural Ravi Zacharias was attracted to multiple women. So
well,
the idea of,
I think all men are.
We all are.
Yeah, but he actually acted upon it.
My only thing is that acting upon it is one thing, but preaching against it and then acting upon it.
Yeah.
That is that. And imagine how many people Ravi brought to Christianity over the years. Many. He was the most, I think his ministry, the RZIM, I think that's what it's called, was one of the, if not the richest ministry. So he brought in a lot of money, and they understood that had his dirty laundry gotten accepted by his ministry while he was alive, it would have destroyed it. It would have destroyed David Wood and everything else.
Ravi Zacharias was a gift to atheists like me, because I used Ravi Zacharias to show that people were so confident in who Ravi Zacharias was. He was a good man. He was preaching from the Bible. He was preaching the gospel. He was so intellectual. He knew philosophy. He knew poetry. He could resonate with people. And yet they didn't know the true Ravi. And so I say, well, what makes you think you know the true Jesus if all you have is a few red letters and gospels written decades later? Here we got video, audio, books signed by him. If you are wrong about Ravi, you can definitely be wrong about Jesus.
100%. I remember I saw a clip of Ravi where he was talking about homosexuality, and he was talking about some gentleman, I forgot his name, that he was at some museum or some art gallery, and he was looking at some naked man, the art of a naked man. And this gentleman whom Ravi was talking about got extremely aroused beyond comprehension. And this gentleman, I think he must have been some Christian, said that one thing is feeling the arousal and one thing is acting upon it. And Ravi preached this, that this man had homosexual tendencies, but he didn't act upon it. So these are the things that Ravi was celebrated for, but the real man fell down the pit. And what really hurts me is because we live in an age where people are simply using the intellect to twist things. The intellect can be easily fooled, easily. easily, and the ones using the intellect to fool others intellectually should be very, very careful. So this is why when I see David Wood attacking Andrew Tate, like a huge part of me says, come on, bro, man. Like, you should have limits. I'm not saying David Wood is not a smart man. He's an incredibly intelligent man. He has a PhD in philosophy. So I think it needs no more to say than that. But I just find that that we've reached some stage in life or society or I don't know what to call it, where people are just attacking things just because they need to attack. Like they need to attack, for example, a tomato, for example, but they don't know how to attack the tomato directly, so they go on and they attack indirectly. Like, for example, the soil, the seed, the water, the sun, just so the tomato would suffer, for example. And I think this is what's happening. I have no clue what Andrew Tate is doing. I know that he's under house arrest in Romania, and that recently his interview with Tucker Carlson, people have found contradictions, and that he lied to Tucker Carlson when his case was actually much more serious and much more deep. I don't know what to think of things like that, but I just this is the first time I saw you live, so I said, you know what, let me spar with this man. Let's see if I have it.
Well, yeah,
I do respect you.
Let's talk about you a little bit. Like, you're Muslim, right?
Yes.
What can I ask? What type of Muslim you are? Like, would you call yourself a more liberal, conservative, moderate?
I would say I have been on both extremes, the zealot and the atheist Muslim. Let's call them like that. So I have gone to both ends, and I have had a taste of both ends. And I call myself a Muslim because I really don't know what to call myself. I call myself a Muslim because there's a lot within Islam that I agree with, a lot, and I mean a lot.
Like what?
That hasn't changed. Yeah, you know what? Let's give you an example so we can spar. Let me give you something.
Because
so
I might agree with it too. We'll see.
Yeah. You know what? Let's stay on topic. I agree with having a polygamous relationship. I agree with the idea that a man can have more than one wife, and that a woman should only be limited to one husband. I agree with that. Let's go from there.
Okay. I would agree with that too, but I would not agree with that it can't go both ways. So now tell me why you think it's one-sided, that a man can have more than one wife, but a woman can't have more than one husband.
So this is all within the family structure. So this is not some polyamorous
Yeah.
stuff.
That's what I'm thinking of. Like, I'm thinking of polyamory when I say that.
No. I'm talking about within a family structure, that one man can have multiple wives. Granted, he takes care of all of their physical, sexual, emotional, spiritual, mental, all of their needs, one by one. Each of them have their own homes. Each of them have their own allowance, and whatever they have arrangement as husband and wife.
Do you think
But
most
for a
women
woman,
do you think most Muslim women are okay with that?
it's a very good question. Asking about whether Muslim women are okay with that. I think that from my experience, Muslim women don't want their husbands to have another wife. And I think this is true for the vast majority of Muslim women. They do not want their husbands to have another wife. However, when the family dynamics is such where the wife is dependent on the husband, then she really does not have a say. She doesn't really have an opinion. But when she is the breadwinner, or she is someone who wins her own wages, I think that is where the discussion becomes serious.
So when a Muslim woman has her own job, her own income, she would probably never marry a Muslim man who already has a wife.
Probably never, unless she's really love deprived, sexually deprived. She needs companionship, and she has money, and she has everything physically, but she just needs love. And here there's a man, but she would have to accept, all his other wives, and accept that, she gets him part-time. So I have seen that.
But a woman who doesn't have her job and she's dependent on a man, she would probably marry a Muslim man who already has a wife because she can get cared for.
Yeah, because
how's that different than prostitution?
How is that different than prostitution?
Yeah.
Well, prostitution, I guess it's a very good question you bring up. Prostitution, you prostitute yourself to many different men. Here, you prostitute yourself to one man. If we could use the word prostitution.
But I could do that, like a man could hire a prostitute and say, oh, for one night, and say, that was amazing. Can I hire you for tomorrow night and the next night? And before you know it, it's like 50 years.
Yeah.
And the woman's doing it for one reason, to get financial security from the man. The man's doing it because she pleases him. How's that different than a Muslim woman marrying a man with already a wife if she's just doing it for security?
I guess if we go back to the idea that within a family structure, then the man would want to have children with this woman, and
that's a good point.
There are men who work, for example, 6 months in the Middle East and live 6 months in the West, and when they're there, they have those needs. Just so people don't think I'm some naive man. Yes, many rich Muslim men, they're not limited to 4 wives. They do have their prostitutes. They do have everything.
Can I tell you my problems with Islam? And you can
go ahead, my friend. Of course.
Okay, so my biggest, and I know this doesn't apply to every country, every community of Islam, but my biggest one is that apostates are killed. If you leave Islam, you say bad things about Islam after you leave, that you should be killed. That's my number one problem. Do you agree with that? That's a problem?
Those are things I've had to reconcile with, and I still find it a problem. Like I said, I've gone through the two extremes: extreme zealot that there's nothing but Islam that's true in this world, and the other side where I'm a Muslim but I don't believe in God, and then now I don't even know what I am anymore. But it's somewhere in between there. Only because I value a lot of the things that Islam has said. That's why I still.
But you agree with me that apostates shouldn't be killed.
It's a problem. No, they shouldn't be killed.
Okay, so we're agreed.
The problem here is that those lines of thinking that you see, they do appear in the Hadith.
Right.
They do appear in the Hadith that those who revert or who turn their back on their religion, it's called irtidad. Those who apostate, that they should be killed. You can find it, but in the Quran, the message is a bit different. And the idea that someone can leave and come back and leave and come back and leave and come back, their state at death is what God will judge them by. So if they were a Muslim at death, God will judge them as a Muslim, and if their state at death,
but they're still killed. Like, and what if they want to live? So that to me, that's not a good reason to kill them. That God will judge them.
No, I'm saying.
But as long as we're both agreed that killing of apostates is bad, then we're on the same page. And you, as a Muslim, would talk to other Muslims.
Like imagine I've left Islam, so I should have been killed.
Yeah, that's true. So you're really
So,
against
so,
that,
so
yeah? Okay. My other problem with Islam, and this is no random order, I'm just writing some things down, is the whole idea of Sharia law I don't like.
yeah, I think that's something that frightens the bejesus of many Westerners.
Now, don't get me wrong. I bet you a Muslim like yourself could show me the Sharia law, and there might be many things I agree with. So don't get me wrong here.
Yeah,
But what I disagree with is the idea of saying that this is from God, this is unchanging, you have to do it this way. I say no. I say, well, what if it doesn't work? What if it ends up hurting more people than it helps? Times change, people change, we evolve. Our morality even evolves, I believe. So I'm against Sharia law and that any type of coercion or force to implement it is wrong, bad.
you know, Doug, right?
Yeah, Doug.
Okay. One thing, Doug, is that if you were to approach Islam from the point of view that God, the one true God who has always been and always will be, you know, the one who has created everything and the beat and all and everything, if that is Allah, then it's very, very, very
Well,
easy
I
to
don't. Yeah,
fall in the pit.
but I'm not. I'm not a believer. I'm a atheist. So, of course, I'm going to say, well, I don't believe that. But I can.
No, I'm saying,
I can
I'm
tolerate
saying,
Christianity. I can tolerate Islam on many things.
no, I'm
But
saying,
here's things I can't.
I'm saying that as a Muslim, someone who believes in God, it will be very easy to fall in the pit and to say that, yes, whatever the Quran says is correct, and you will find ways to justify those verses,
Yeah.
even if someone is able to prove you wrong. And if you will have a critical eye like I have now, because I've left Islam, when I look at those verses that non-Muslims disagree with, you know, the zealot Tamim would have been like, you guys are stupid, can't you see it? But the one who left and came back is like, okay, I can see exactly why you would
Wait a
reject
minute.
it.
I was under the impression you were Muslim. You left Islam and then came back. But you don't consider yourself a follower of Islam?
Well, I wouldn't say I don't consider myself as a follower. I left, and then now I'm coming back with a very different lens, trying to see the wisdom in many things. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. And I think this example is very, very good. In the Quran, it's mentioned indirectly. This verse is not mentioned directly, but indirectly, you could interpret a Quranic verse to say that a man can marry prepubescent children, that a man can marry a girl who's prepubescent, meaning she has not had her menstrual cycles yet.
Yep.
This is clearly an interpretation that is easily uh, found in the Quran, that this verse can mean this, because the Arabic is very clear, very clear. That verse that says that a man can marry a prepubescent child, the verse says that, it talks about divorce and how many months and how much time a woman should stay in the home of her husband when the divorce happens, to make sure she's not pregnant. And one menstrual cycle is usually enough, but then it mentions that those who have not yet seen those cycles, they should stay for 3 months. So which means that a prepubescent child fits in there because they haven't seen the menstrual cycles yet. However, this Arabic translation can also mean women who will never see, meaning they have some sort of an ailment. Now, let's go to the prepubescent child, because it's clearly interpretable, that it says that you can marry a prepubescent child. My take on this now from a different lens is that, wait a minute, a lot of young kids actually become sexually active very, very young, very young. I remember one of my best friends when we were in high school, we were just talking, and then he just said that, he started to play with himself when he was, sorry, I'm a bit shy using explicit words,
Masturbating.
yes, with himself when he was 5 years old. So from this, and then for me, I think I had my first nocturnal dream when I was like 13 years old or something like that. So there's a huge range there. So, and I also realized that there are kids who have
Well,
sexual
just let me ask you
intercourse.
directly: are you for or against an 8-year-old marrying a 25-year-old man?
It looks disgusting.
So you're against it?
It looks disgusting. I don't know the wisdom behind it, but like it would break my heart to see
Ahmed, are you
an
for it or
8-year-old.
against it?
You're asking a very tough question, Doug.
It's no,
Like
it
I said,
isn't. Let me show you how it's done. I'm against it. Now it's your turn.
for me to say I'm against it would mean that
You're
I
judging
look at that
Muhammad.
Quranic. No, that I'm looking at the Quran and saying that verse has no wisdom behind it. For me,
What's so bad about that? What's so bad about saying that there's a verse in the Quran that has no wisdom? Or maybe outdated wisdom?
for example, I would see an 8-year-old, for example, wanting a 6-year-old, marrying a 5-year-old. This is such a stupid example to fit the verse. But for Muhammad married, according to Islamic tradition, he consummated his marriage with a 9-year-old when he was 53 years old. As a Muslim, when I was a zealot, this did not bother me. But afterwards, now, when I look at a 53-year-old man and I look at a 9-year-old girl, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
It's
because, do you have children?
I don't have children, Doug.
Okay. Yeah, once you have
But
children
I have.
and you have a 9-year-old and you see your own 9-year-old with your own eyes, I can understand that in the 7th century that people had contracts and that women were indeed property, and so a father could sell or bequeath or whatever, have some type of contract with a wealthier old man saying, hey, you can have my daughter who's only 9, and then the guy waits until she hits puberty and then consummates the marriage. I can sort of understand that. But in today's society, no, because what will end up happening is you're basically declaring this girl as property of the father to be bartered with, to be negotiated with under certain contracts. You're treating a human being like a car. You can have my car.
Very true.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you say you're against it. You're against girls getting married
just
to
for
men.
clarity, I'm against it. Just for clarity, just so that we don't, just so there's no ambiguity in my answer, I'm against it.
And I'm against some Muslims, some Islamic countries that say that homosexuality is a crime. Are you against that?
This took me a long time to figure out, Doug. So allow me to unwrap my
Where are
logic
you
so
right
can
now,
see.
though? Are you for or against homosexuality being a crime?
No, I've actually come to terms that men do love other men and they are attracted to these men.
But are you
If I were to
for
just
or against a nation saying homosexuality is a crime? So practicing it.
no, my point of view has changed. I would be okay with that.
Okay, so we're the same there. So homosexuality should not be a crime.
Homosexuality should not be a crime. Correct.
Okay.
I was just going to explain to you how the shift happened for me. Obviously, because when you look at something as being the word of God, the truth. There's nothing beyond this, because this is the yardstick. This is the calibrated teaching that God has sent, and you accept those words. You naturally accept the idea that, okay, this is wrong. In the Quran, it mentions that as long as they don't do it in public, if they do it within closed doors in their domiciles, it's okay, but they should not bring this stuff to the public sphere. Now, once I left Islam, I realized one thing, because I went through nihilism. I went through a very, 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 very high dosage of nihilism. And that's when I started realizing that no, human beings need to express themselves. They need to be in public, and they need to show their happiness. They need to celebrate their happiness, and to do things behind closed doors. Sure, the forbidden apple might be very arousal and intense, but at the end of the day, you want to show that in public. And that's when I realized that, and just watching, gay couples, when obviously when two men are holding hands, you realize that they're a gay couple, and you realize how happy they are. And it's in your world that it doesn't make sense, because you have been tainted by something that has poisoned your well already. But these men are living something very natural. So that's when I realized that, okay, so it is allowed. It should be allowed.
Ahmed, it sounds like you and I agree on almost everything so far. That my main problems with Islam. So let's talk about what we disagree. You still believe a God exists, right? And that this God is Allah?
Let's do it.
Do you believe
yes,
God exists?
Yes.
What was that big sigh before?
I was taking a shower today, and I thought about you, not in a homoerotic way. You made a very good point. You made a good point about maybe 2-3 weeks ago. You're talking about this. You're talking to someone about the universe coming to being by itself and God coming to being by itself, and you said, well, they're the same. This is something I concluded on my own about maybe 20 years ago. And because, atheists say, well, where did God come from? Well, where did God come from? Well, where did the universe come from? If the universe came by itself, then what's wrong with God coming by itself? So now the next step in that would be that the universe creating everything versus, because we as human beings have an example that things are created, it's put together, it's designed, it's created. The universe creating all of this, and that too via randomness, or an intelligent God creating everything after coming into being, by himself.
Okay,
just as
very good. So you do believe God exists because it's more intuitive to you that our reality, what we see, makes more sense coming from an intelligent designer than just by random. Right? Is that a good summary of what you
Correct.
said? Okay.
Yeah.
What are this God in your head that you believe in? What are its attributes? What's it like? Describe this God to me.
Had I never become an atheist or a nihilist, this would be very easy to answer, meaning the Islamic perspective. But because I've seen the other side, the answer is very hard. I feel that it's still abstract. It's still abstract. Like there is the way the Quran describes God is that he.
I can help you here. Like, do you think this God is all good?
Yes. You know what? Let's go for it. Yeah, you ask me the questions, because it will be easier to answer your questions, because for me to think up of answers and everything and the questions, it will be very hard because my mind
all good?
has a lot of information.
Is God all good?
Could you kindly define what do you mean by that?
Okay, let me put it this way. Does this God in your head, does this God like it when he sees a woman raped here on planet Earth?
The Islamic answer to that would be
I want
yes.
I want your answer, not the Islamic answer. Your answer. Does the God who is in your mind exists?
My heart could never see a woman being raped. I don't have the stomach for it, man. My heart I would jump in there and help her.
The
but
God
I
you
know that
believe
marital
in.
rape is allowed in Islam.
Let me ask the question again. The God you believe in. Think about that God that you believe exists. This God sees a rape happen on planet Earth. Is he thumbs up, thumbs down?
The answer is not easy. Let me explain one thing to you. Sorry, Doug. Just one thing before I can answer that question. For me, I'm no longer looking for the God of what I think God should be. I'm trying to find the God that is, if he is, the God that is. And so far, I've come back to Islam thinking that Islam has the answer. And the God of Islam has no problem marital rape. So therefore, if that is a true God, then I would too have to submit that, okay, then it must be, like, if you since you use the word good, then it must be good. But to rape someone,
Okay, let's
to
make it
rape
simpler. I'm
someone,
trying to figure out what you actually believe. You believe a God exists, but I'm trying to figure out what that means. Is this God all powerful?
yes,
Is this God all knowing?
yes,
Does this God have free will?
yes.
Okay. But you stumbled on, we'll try again. Is this God all good? You stumble on this
He
one.
has wrath. He has wrath.
Okay.
He punishes. He 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 yeah, he punishes. He he throws people into hell. He
What does he
he
punish?
looks at people with the,
Why does this God punish? Why?
just like a father would punish his son to put him back
On the right path.
in line.
That's discipline. That's different than punish. Punish means you do something to an individual without any intent to make them better, but you are punishing them to just make them feel pain or agony for what they've already done with no intent to make them better. It's like, that's the difference between discipline and punishment. But you said this God punishes.
Okay, no. Then I'm talking about discipline.
Okay. Do you believe this God created created a place called hell?
The answers I'm giving you are my understanding of God from Islam. So please take that into consideration.
Okay, but do you believe this God created hell?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe this God created heaven?
Yes.
Okay. So you believe in a God that's all-powerful, all-knowing. He sees what's happening on planet Earth. He punishes people. Do you believe part of that punishment is putting people into hell?
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely.
Do you think this God wants people to go to hell?
Yes.
Oh, you're a Calvinist Muslim. You know what? I kind of appreciate your answer there because it avoids a contradiction. I'm trying to trap you here. If you would have said no, then this God would never have created. But since you said yes, that means this God created knowing full well what would happen and wanted it anyhow. But now here's the next question. If hell's a really bad place and God created, Allah created hell, knowing full well with 100% certainty that people would end up there, and he wanted people to end up there, do you think this God is worthy of worship?
I'm going to answer you, and then I'm going to give you the explanation. The answer is yes.
Okay.
And the explanation is that if that is God, then that is God. Like, I'm not going to Dairy Queen and asking for them to give me something specialized. This is what God is, and if that's what he is, then that's what he is. Then yes.
Yeah. Would you feel that a father who tortures his child every day is worthy of worship?
No, it would break my heart.
Why doesn't
It
it
would
break
break
your
my heart.
Why doesn't it break your heart when God does it?
The assumption here is that God exists.
Yeah, this
The
man exists.
assumption. No, correct. But the assumption here is that God created everything. If the universe created itself and then the universe created God, then I would hate that God. But if God came on his own and then created as such, then no, I would have no problem.
But what
It's
does
contradictory.
what does this God creating everything have to do with anything? Because he's still punishing by creating someone who he knew would go to hell. He created hell. He created the person who he would know would end up there. So what if he created everything? He's still
Sometimes
not worthy of worship, is he?
Sometimes through suffering and pain and setbacks and being bullied and being tortured and being whatever, we evolve. We evolve society. I think if good was the only thing that ever existed, I don't think as human beings we would ever progress. It
Oh,
would
okay. Do you
basically.
think people get better in hell and they end up leaving hell?
Well, that's what happens in jail. When a lot of people come out of jail, they do become good, and
Yeah,
they
but
do
do you believe
become good members
that's
of
what
society.
happens? Like your God created
But
hell. He knew.
that I don't know. That I don't know. I don't have any evidence for that.
So then
But
why do you say
I'm
that?
assuming.
Why do you say that this type of punishment is good then, if you don't know that it's that people can get better through it and learn through it and actually leave it?
I guess I'm using allegory, if that's the correct term I'm using. I think I'm using allegory by looking at society and looking that having a free ride, a child who has never seen hardships, doesn't become anything. But a father who makes sure
I
his
agree with you
son.
on that. I agree that hardship can make people stronger and it kind of helps them mature. I agree with you there, but we're talking about eternal hell, right? Which is very different. But let's move on to something else because I think this might be the crux of the matter.
Let's do it, man.
You said earlier that it makes more sense for you to view that everything we see around us was intelligently designed. Do you say that even about the things that don't look intelligently designed? Like,
For example,
well, here on planet Earth, we can look at all the diseases, the way people are
I thought of
born
that.
with disabilities, the way we die is often very painful. Then you can look at the universe and see that most of it is just nothingness, basically. Does that
If
look like a good designer to you?
I'm gonna give you the answer, then I'm gonna explain it. The answer is no.
Okay.
However, I think that if life has a purpose, and that purpose is to find the ultimate truth, which is God, and if He created us and just threw us, and then wanted us to retrace the steps back to Him, then when you look at disease and when you look at famine, when you look at hardships, when you look at imperfections in babies, some are born without arms, legs, some are born with diseases, some are born with no eyes, some are born with whatever. I think these things allow us to get a window into the deeper meanings of existence. For example, look at Braille. Without blind people, Braille would have never been invented. Look at sign language. For example, technology has actually helped human beings because of suffering. Like look at farming. If we did not have the machinery today, the man who's been
Wait a
farming.
minute, we're talking about an intelligent designer. Couldn't he design Braille without even people going blind?
Oh, no, I'm saying that if the purpose, which I believe the purpose of life and existence is to retrace the steps back to God. If that is the true purpose of life, then I can see the wisdom in him creating an imperfect world. I can see the wisdom. But if that's not the purpose, then I can see your point that God creating all of these imperfections and suffering and everything is pointless, and that brings into question whether this God does even exists or not. For example, if you look at suffering has no meaning for atheists because they're like, this is part of life, this is part of existence. You suffer and that's it. But suffering does matter once a theist comes and says that God is all loving, he loves you, he this, he that, then okay, then why does suffering exist? And this is where many theists they get you can trap them here.
Why do you think suffering has no meaning for atheists? I think suffering has meaning, and I'm an atheist.
No, what I mean is that for an atheist, you don't question why suffering exists. You accept it as part of existence.
Yes.
But
okay.
when a theist or someone like a Muslim or a Christian who says that God is all loving and he loves you and he takes care of you and you do good and blah 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 blah, then you throw it back at them and you're like, well, why does suffering exist? That's when these believers they get trapped and they don't know how to answer that, because now they have to work all sorts of mental gymnastics to answer that. So what I'm saying simply is that if there is a purpose for that suffering in the ultimate scheme of things, then that suffering is okay. But if there isn't, then truly,
so what I'm hearing you say is rape has meaning and purpose if it leads people to God.
I love you, man. I knew this guy's intelligence was gonna catch up to me. You're a very smart man. A very, very smart man. I don't condone rape. Definitely not.
You should run for president in my administration. My platform is we don't condone rape in my administration.
Marital rape, even that I don't accept. I think it's horrible.
I'm just repeating back what you're basically saying, that all the devastating acts here on Earth, with even natural disasters, children born with cancer, all this has a purpose to lead people to God. Right? Isn't that what you said?
That's how I see it. That's the only way I can make sense of God. That's the only way I can make sense of God, unless he's created everything as a playground.
Okay, well, what about
just having fun?
What about the people who are born very sick or go through these terrible things and they still reject God? They still say, no, I don't believe Allah exists. I reject the Quran. I reject all religions. They still go through
mad respect to those people.
They still go through the
mad
suffering,
respect.
But won't they end up with more suffering later if they go to hell? So they suffer here on planet Earth and then they suffer in hell. What's the purpose of that?
Those people who reject God, even in the face of excruciating pain and suffering and setbacks, and they just get pull themselves up by their bootstraps and they keep soldiering on. Mad respect to those people. I don't have that mental strength, and I need to clutch onto something, man. But those people, very, 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 very strong.
Why do you think you need to clutch onto something?
I don't know. It's like my brain keeps telling me that there has to be purpose. There has to be purpose. There has to be purpose.
But you do understand, if you were an atheist before, that purpose you can still have purpose and not believe in God, right? It's just not cosmic purpose. It's not eternal purpose.
The thing with me is that purpose for me means, something that matters in the grand scheme of things, not local purpose.
Yeah, I find this interesting because there's many theists, especially a lot of Christians I've listened to. They have that same need, and I don't quite get it. Like, why do some people think that if it doesn't last forever, if it's not meaningful or purposeful outside of our realities, then it doesn't count?
I think I've been brainwashed by the Quran to think that everything to think that everything you're doing, every morsel you eat, every sip you drink, every hour or every minute you sleep, every good that you do, everything you do is for the sake of God. And because of that ultimate, because you're living for the ultimate being, like the one and only, therefore everything you do has to reflect back to that. And I think this is something I was struggling with atheism.
Okay, I want you to imagine something here. I want you to imagine that.
Go ahead, sir.
I have the truth. Okay, I'm not wrong about this.
As in Doug has the truth, or
me?
or
I'm about to say something, and I'm telling
Okay.
you, this is a thought experiment, but I'm telling you right now within this thought experiment that I'm not wrong about this. It's 100% true. There is no God of any kind. The universe, the cosmos, the reality has always existed. There was a quantum fluctuation, started the singularity and the Big Bang. Most of the universe is random and chaotic and death, but they were coalesced through the universal constants that we have, gravitational forces that we have, chemicals to come together and create life over billions, hundreds of millions at least years. There is no ultimate purpose of our universe. There is no ultimate meaning of our universe. Our universe will sometimes cease to exist, and maybe other universes will start. That is the 100% truth. What are you feeling right now?
Good. I'm glad you asked that question, because one question popped into my mind was, then why do I have the need for purpose?
You have this need for purpose, Ahmed, because through the process of evolution via common descent, communities, intelligent communities like ourselves that evolved to be intelligent, thrived better when we had this illusion of cosmic purpose. So in other words, let's say you're by yourself and nobody's looking, and you have this idea of meaning and purpose and God in your head, but nobody's looking, and you're about to, you want to rape someone. And nobody will ever find out because nobody's around. This person has no family, no friends. But if you believe in God, then you might not do it because you're either fearful of hell or that God will punish you.
Yes.
So
yes, very true.
We humans developed this idea of the invisible silverback gorilla, who is the leader of our tribe, to watch over us, to help us keep us in line. But there is no God, Ahmed. There's no ultimate purpose. There's no ultimate meaning. We come up with our own purposes, our own meanings in our day-to-day life. And within 3 generations, nobody will ever remember me. Nobody will remember you. How are you feeling right now?
That's true. That's very, very true. Like, within 100 years after my death, no one.
But does this cause you any type of existential angst, what I just said?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
If that's true, that there's nothing in you that feels negative from the cold, harsh reality I just gave, then I don't see any reason why you can't become an atheist.
Like I said, I have been brainwashed, poisoned, if you want to call it, just for simplicity, by my upbringing, by what I read, obviously from my religion.
I did too. I was too, but I got over it. You can too.
My only thing My only thing in this whole process, Doug, is that it can't be for nothing. Like that's
What can't be
what
for
I keep
nothing?
meaning. Like all of this, the beauties and everything you see, the how everything is so
Okay,
beautifully synchronized.
but you know
Like for
what?
example,
You know what? You
like
you
what?
probably gave the strongest argument for God, in my opinion, just now, and that's I think the beauty argument is great. Um, but the thing is, it isn't for nothing. When you say it can't be for nothing, all the beauty around us, but it isn't for nothing because we experience it, we enjoy it, we can share it, but that doesn't mean it's going to last forever. We're both going to
You're right.
die. And it's both going to be, it's going to be forgotten in history, unless the exact same thing repeats itself. So, but that doesn't mean it's for nothing.
Let me throw something at you.
Okay.
Look at the reproductive process of of life, whatever animal. Let's stick to the human one because we know it best. Look how there is the female reproductive organ, and then you have the male reproductive organ. How the female reproductive organ lubricates on its own once aroused, and how it has the egg in her, and then the male has the other part of the egg, the seed or whatever you want to call it. I know it's sperm, but I'm just trying to use just simple language. And it goes in there, and then it it forms inside the stomach of the mother, and then you have this water that it sits in,
Okay,
and
Ahmed,
then
I get your point. It's all this is amazing, and I agree with
yes,
you.
yes,
I agree with you that to create a child, the way the process that occurs is amazing. But look what you're doing. You're
go ahead.
looking at all the positives and not the negatives. Think about all the miscarriages that happen through the same process. Think about all the eggs that never cling to the uterus wall. Think of the pain and the turmoil that many women go through once a month. Some bleeding is horrendous, and the menstrual cramps is horrendous. Think about all the men who don't have sperm that are mobile enough to fertilize an egg. And then think about when the children are born, a percentage of them with disabilities and just horrendous pain. Think about the premature babies that until recently would have died like seconds. Think about all the mothers who died on childbirth. But thanks to technology, we've almost solved that problem. You're focusing on the positive, and that's good, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But to say that, to look at that and not look at the negatives, like think our reproductive system is right next to our excretory system. Where we poop out of is where we it's close to where we have this enjoyment too. It's not a good design. The fact that we even poop is not a good design. Like if there's this God, why do we have to eat and poop?
Well, that's the thing. The whole idea of bringing out the speaking about the idea of how a baby is born is like that whole thing could. It's very like I'm sure you would say it can happen randomly. That whole intelligence behind the reproduction of a child of life, that whole thing can be designed by itself, sure. But if you look at the negatives of that, which I can see your points, but I'm talking specifically about just how life is created. Now, if you look at the negatives of that, um, it goes back to my original point that I said that if the purpose of life is to retrace your steps back to God, and that's why He created you, because I don't actually see any other purpose for life aside that unpuzzling the puzzle and going back and finding your way
You see
through the
this picture?
labyrinth. Yes, I do.
Like what's the purpose of this?
I think because of things like this is very heartbreaking, extremely heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm not
But
going to leave it
I
on the
think
screen long.
these things allow us to advance in science, advance in understanding how reality, how the physical world works. Without understanding the physical world and its intricacies, I think it's very hard to understand anything metaphysical. It's impossible. And I think those people who focus only in the afterlife, in the hereafter, and they want to go back to heaven and blah blah, that's all good. But I think if we have been put here, um, if you
But
look
you
at
know,
atheists,
but Ahmed, that's almost like saying, like, let's say I take a sword and kill someone with a sword, and you ask me, why did you do that? Well, because I'm trying to make better swords, and I'm trying to figure the best sword killing machine, if it should be double
but
edged
that
or.
doesn't happen like that though. The evolution of swords happen once you go into the battlefield. Once that thing is not able to cut
But
a
you're missing
tree,
my
once it's not,
point. My point is, you do not need this type of suffering. Like, if your end goal is for technology, like, why? If
no,
this God
no,
wants
no, no,
technology, why would He create humans to suffer in order to
no. The
find it?
more you understand the physical world and how it functions, the more you're privy to being in awe and understanding and feeling that, wait a minute, there must be more to this. That's what I'm talking about, that
Okay.
fine
Do you
point.
think the positive feelings of humanity throughout all our existence in history has been more positive or more negative?
You're very, very, very good at trapping people. You're very intelligent, Doug. I have to admit that. Um, from my personal experience, living life and reading, I would say negative. It's
Yeah.
been very suffering, a lot of suffering,
Especially if you include animals, right? Like if
a lot. Oh my God, a lot of suffering, man.
90
A
something like
lot.
98% of all animals that have ever existed on our planet have gone extinct, and we probably will go extinct at some point.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you follow scientific logic, evolutionary scientific logic, then yes, we would all go extinct. Yeah, at some point.
Anyhow, let's wrap it up here. It was a very good conversation. We've been going like an hour, so.
Oh, seriously. Oh, it felt like 15 minutes, man. You're very kind, my friend. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Okay, take care.
Bye bye, sir.
Is that true? Have we been going an hour? Yeah, 55 minutes. Pretty close. Okay, let's make this a one and done today. I'll read the chat for a couple of minutes here. I tend to agree with this. I tend to disagree with this. He's not mentally ill. Well, unless we all are mentally ill. You're welcome, Andy. Can I call PineCreek? I called that 3 times before. You want to call in right now, Bond Servant? You called in 3 times before? Which one are you? What did we talk about? 3 times before. 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 3 have a feeling this is a bad idea, but maybe it's a good idea. Go ahead and call in. Well, I'll see. We'll keep it short. Thanks, PineCreek Kitchen. Let me get the whereby up. Call in, bond servant. The universe is so perfectly fine-tuned for life that life could have never arisen without a supernatural intervention. I disagree with that. How do we know? Are you coming, bond servant? The link's still there. I'll play the music one more time. You wanted to call in and talk about Andrew Tate? Oh, now everybody wants to call in when I want to leave. Okay, American Cuban or bond servant, whoever calls in first. Or if it's short, I'll maybe take both of you. But I'm not going for another hour with one person. Yes, wait 2 minutes. Okay, bond servant, I'll wait 2 minutes. I saw Jordan Peterson post something on Twitter the other day, which I thought was very witty. He said, "Let the girl with the biggest dick win." That was hilarious. Hilarious and triggering for some. Fox Populi says, "Found your channel recently and I've been thoroughly enjoying your perspective and approach. Thanks for doing what you do." Well, thank you. You and I can be friends. If anybody plays poker, I have a poker night. Hello, bond servant. No, are you bond servant?
Bond servant.
Have we talked before?
Yeah. Yes, we've talked before.
How come I don't remember your voice?
Okay. How about now?
Now I remember you.
You gave me an assignment, and I have accomplished the assignment.
What assignment did I give you?
You told me what's the contemporary evidence for miracles do exist.
Contemporary? No, I think I asked you the contemporary evidence that Jesus existed.
No, you said what it will take. I asked you what it will take for you to have faith in Jesus Christ. You said if there was, like, if we go down to Arizona and
oh yeah, raised people from the dead. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to show you 14 people were raised from the dead. I want you, like, if you go and Google John G. Lake, you'll find the evidence.
John what Lake?
John G. Lake. If I could share the screen, I could Google it for you.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay.
What year was this? 1870. No. So you're saying someone was raised from the dead in the late 1800s?
I will show you different Pentecostal fathers who have raised people from the dead.
You know what? I'll make this very simple for you.
Yeah.
I have to see it.
That's a fallacy.
Okay, that's fine. Call it a fallacy. Call it whatever you want.
Okay, but you didn't even search it. You didn't even see the results.
Yeah, there's many things. Do you realize that there's many things on the internet that are not true?
I know that. But I can give you different facts. Have you read God's Generals?
How long was this person dead, John? This the first one you brought up. How long was this person dead?
He was dead around 20 years.
So you're saying someone lived and died, was buried for 20 years, and then came back to life?
Let me check. I'm giving you an estimation. I'm saying probably 2 decades.
If it's more than 1 year, that's fine.
Okay.
But you're saying it's at least a year?
Yeah, at least a year. John G. Lake miracles. Anything? By the way, these are the evidences that turned me a Pentecostal. This is what I used to be a Mennonite. I went out from the Mennonite church because of this.
Well, if you left the Mennonite church, that means you weren't a true Mennonite.
I weren't a true Mennonite last time. Don't you remember? I was.
I know.
Pentecostal. Okay, so it says he has performed 8 miracles in the United States.
This John G. Lake guy.
He has performed 100,000 healings.
Okay, all this means nothing to me.
So, evidence doesn't mean anything to you. I could share a screen and show you what it actually says.
My neighbor, who lives 2 blocks down, 2 doors down, he's done 200,000 miracles. Not 100,000. You don't believe me either, right? So why should I believe this guy, or you, or this?
I'm not saying we should be gullible for everything.
Right? Don't be gullible. Just because someone says they've raised the dead doesn't make it true.
But I believe that God could heal every.
I know you believe that, but you're trying to convince me.
Yeah. Okay, if John G. Lake is bad, let's go with Smith Wigglesworth. And he has raised his wife from the grave.
How long was she dead?
She was dead.
For how long?
Let me check.
And do we have the certificate from, say, a couple doctors saying that she was indeed dead? Because, people make mistakes and they think that someone's dead, and then they bury them, and they're actually not dead. And if it's a shallow grave, they actually, hand can come out.
Yeah, the reason is I believe prayers work.
I know you believe that, but I don't. So your job is to convince me.
Yeah. Well, I could. Can I share the screen?
No.
Okay. Don't put your link in my website, right? I mean, I don't know why you're so you have been so much skeptical.
You can shatter my worldview. Your name is Emanuel? No, what's your name?
Yes.
Yeah, Emanuel. See, I remembered. Yeah. Emanuel, you can shatter my worldview very simply. You give a future date, let's say next Friday. No, I'm busy next Friday, but we'll make a date. And you come to a graveside. You pick a random grave, or I'll pick the random grave, and you pray in the name of Jesus for them to rise through the dirt, walk around. My whole worldview would be shattered. I will denounce naturalism on the spot. That's all you have to do. We'll bring other people to verify. We'll bring TV crews, camera crews. We'll bring the relatives of the deceased who's been deceased for several years there. We'll get the medical records to show that this person, to match the DNA, that, hey, this is the person who died. This is the person who's now alive. You do your incantation in the name of Jesus. And if it happens, I will stop being a naturalist. I'm not lying to you. And a lot of atheists are mad at me for even saying this, but I'm telling you the truth. Don't give me this stuff from the 1800s.
I mean, Abraham Lincoln existed. We have evidence from the 1800s.
Why are you bringing up that? That's a silly thing to say.
No, because it's not a lie, right? I'm showing you the fallacy of your reasoning here. Just because it's old doesn't mean that it's false. We still Darwinism, but Darwin died like some 100 years ago, right? So just because it's...
Can you predict what I'm thinking?
No. I mean, I
it's-
could discern your
like,
spirit. I could look.
your
I could look.
your
I could
point
look
in
your
saying
spirit.
this, like I'm trying so hard not to be rude, but it's really tough. Your point in saying this is that if I reject this history, then I'm rejecting all history. That's your point, right?
No, I'm not saying. What I'm saying is you accept. Obviously, you believe Lincoln existed. Obviously, you believe
Yeah.
Darwin existed. But I'm showing you you're putting double standards when it
Yes,
comes to
yes,
Christianity.
yes. I'm double
Okay.
standards for a good reason. You know what that
Okay,
reason is?
And what's the reason?
To say Abraham Lincoln existed is, and I accept that, and I don't accept that a human being walked on water, changed water into wine, multiplied loaves and fishes, raised the dead, and he himself raised from the dead. Those are two completely different claims that require two different amounts of evidence. Do you understand that?
Yeah, but if you studied history of the Pentecostal church, and if you zoom in, even in the 1960s, 1970s, you could see that it was filled with lots of signs and miracles. And the thing you said, I can't really know what you will say in the future, but I could look at you and look at your spirit at the same time.
Okay, look
It's
at
kind
my
of like-
spirit. Can you look at my spirit right now?
Of course, like you told me that you don't believe in God, right?
Right.
So I know that like if you are connected with God or disconnected with God. But I probably will not expect if we go down to Arizona and we prayed people in the grave, I'm pretty sure that they won't be raised up or they won't resurrect. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's very obvious. I mean,
That's too bad for me. If that doesn't happen, I guess I'll just go to hell.
Are you consciously or unconsciously not believing in Christ?
Consciously.
So,
Because the
what's the-
evidence doesn't mention the claim.
okay, so can you use Pascal? Let me use Pascal's wager. So,
Oh.
uh,
I know Pascal's wager.
okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm a Christian, right?
Yeah.
So, if I believed in the scriptures and the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, and let's say like I die, and it turned out like those things were
Emmanuel,
not real. We're
You're
not
talking
real.
to PineCreek. You know I know all
There's-
this.
There's nothing that I have lost. But if I put on your worldview, and I never believed in God,
Emmanuel,
and I die,
you just said
eternal
there's nothing
judgment.
you can lose, right? By believing in Jesus.
Nothing I could lose.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I've actually gained a lot of things believing in Christ, but there's nothing that I could lose.
You can't think of a scenario where you're wrong about that. Believing in Jesus, you have nothing to lose. You can't think of a scenario where that might cause you to have something bad happen to you.
What might happen to me?
Have you never thought about this before? So imagine this. Yahweh exists. The God of the Old Testament exists, who has said as the first commandment, "Thou shalt not have any gods before me." Okay? Or after me. And you believe Jesus is God. Right? Or you worship God. You worship Jesus as God. Right?
No, Christ is God.
Yeah.
The one that was giving those commandments in the Old Testament was Christ.
Right.
Because 1 Corinthians 11.
I understand you believe this,
the rock
but
was
now
Christ.
what if you're wrong? And Yahweh is real and exists.
Yeah, Yahweh is real. I believe in Jehovah of the Old Testament.
Can you understand the words coming out of my mouth? What
Yeah,
if
yeah,
Yahweh
I'm
is real
conscious.
and Jesus Christ is a fiction?
Christ is Yahweh. I don't see the difference between God and
What if
Christ.
that is incorrect?
Okay, prove it that it is incorrect. I could give you.
Emmanuel,
the
please raise your IQ. If that is incorrect, what bad thing could happen to you?
So, okay, this is what you said. this is your question. You said that what if only the Old Testament scripture and the God of the Old Testament only is true, and the Christ that I believe in and the apostles believed in was not the same God? And what if I got tricked? I'm not really scared of those things because you could only be scared. Okay, let me finish. You could only be scared of the things that you are aware of. I'm not scared of the Muslim God. I'm not scared of the Buddhism God because I'm not aware of those doctrines. I could only be scared. I could only be fearful towards the New Testament.
Okay, let me
and the
let
Old
me
Testament.
inform you then.
Yes.
Some Jews believe that there is a hell,
Yeah.
and
I
if
mean, they don't believe that there's a hell. But
and
okay.
if they are right,
But there's no hell in their belief.
some Jews believe there's a hell, and if they are
Okay.
right,
Christian Jews. Okay.
no, not Christian Jews, Jews. And if
So apostates.
Emmanuel, if you are breaking the first commandment and are living your life worshiping a false god, you might be going to hell. You got everything to lose by being a Christian. In
But
fact,
I
I
don't
might
believe
be
that
exempt because
command.
I'm an atheist. Because I'm not worshiping a false god like you are. This is Pascal's wager turned around on you. But you're not worried about it, just like I'm not worried about it.
So you don't really care that there's an entire eternity after you die. What happens?
Xavier, can you hear me, Xavier? I can't hear you. Try again, Xavier. Be like water?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I had a quick question for you. Something you said uh, made me think of something that so I wanted to ask you. So you mentioned what was it now?
Are you nervous?
Atheism is. No, I'm trying to remember. No, I'm just trying to remember my question. So
Okay.
atheism is. You're saying it was an evolutionary. It was an evolutionary developed for us to believe that we have ultimate purpose. Do you remember saying that when you were talking to the reluctantly
Yeah,
Muslim
that's at
guy?
least that some Homo sapiens would, yeah, have
So
evolved in a way to believe these things.
so it just sort of occurred to me like I'm an atheist. So I'm an atheist, and I think it's for good reasons for myself. But so would it somehow mean that sort of spreading the opposite of like there is no ultimate purpose, is there some sort of negative evolutionary effect to that?
Yeah, there is.
So then as atheists, like should we morally, like, I mean, I've never thought of it like that, you know what I mean? Like it's making me question, like, is it, should we even spread it if that's the case? Like I don't know what evolutionary advantage there is to having that ultimate purpose. Maybe it's some sort of satisfaction or uh you know some sort of like hope, meaning, and purpose. That's how they get their home, meaning, and purpose. I don't know, satisfaction in life. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say that you're right. At least in some cases, like my sister is a great example. She lived probably an extra 5 years, although she couldn't really. Well, actually, she probably still could have procreated. She lived an extra 5 years because of her belief in God.
Yeah, yeah. So it
So
kind of depends on. It's a case by case thing. You're saying.
yeah, but I don't need it, and it sounds like you don't need it.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't have that like proclivity to like have this ultimate like a meta purpose or something, that's connected to everything. Like I don't know. Yeah, I guess, but a lot of people do apparently. And so I guess,
like some people would call us nihilists, but and I think I would agree metaphysically. I'm a metaphysical nihilist. Like I don't think there's cosmic purpose, ultimate purpose and meaning. But I'm still happy. I'm still. I live in a great country of the United States, and I'm in good health. Like,
right. Then you have good relationships.
I have good relationships, right?
And there's lots of, I'm sure, I mean, there's so much fulfillment that you can get, just like everyone, I feel like if they're honest with themselves, has personal fulfillment at some level, or they can imagine having that.
But you know, like people like Emanuel, who was just on before you, like he's probably desperate. Like his IQ is not the highest. He needs this belief. Probably is poor, and so.
I don't know if I want to say that about him, but okay.
No, I've seen his background, where he is and what he wears and stuff. And he's young. Most young people are poor. It's like he needs this.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it definitely is there's a reason for, the poorer countries have a higher proclivity towards theism. And I think that's not like a surprise to me,
Yeah. Anyhow, great question. And I think for people who actually need this ultimate hope, meaning, and purpose, they probably don't watch my show anyhow.
Yeah. All right, man. You have a good day. Thanks for talking.
Yep. See ya. Okay. There's one. Xavier, did you want to try again? I need disbelief, says Reverb Twang. Sorry, Emanuel, if you're still listening, but I just can't deal with you today. You really need to get smarter, and you have to understand that almost everything you're going to say, I've thought about before, right? Because I've been doing this for a long time. So you can ask questions like, in one sentence, can you tell me why you don't like Pascal's wager? And I'll answer it. 1-2 sentences. But you should know before you even come on, if you've watched my channel a lot, that bringing up someone raising someone else from the dead from the 1800s is not going to do it for me. I'm going to question everything about it. The Abrahamic God is logically impossible. It depends exactly how you define it, but I tend to agree. Xavier, and I think there was one other person maybe who wanted to call in. Do it quickly. I saw we had a little kid spamming earlier. Maybe atheists are freaks of nature that have out-evolved evolution. Let's see if it works this time. Say something, Xavier. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good.
Wow. It does
worked.
not work on the MacBook, but it works on my phone.
Okay.
Anyways, what do you have against Andrew Tate?
What do I have against Andrew Tate? Did you listen to the live stream? Probably
Yeah,
not.
you're talking to a Muslim, and then the scholar Emanuel.
I think the part about telling women to threaten women to do what they want, or it was the violence part.
Andrew Tate threatened women with violence.
No. Andrew Tate told women, or had women in his employment that would threaten the women.
Oh,
with violence.
Well, I mean, I don't. There's evidence for that.
We'll see. It's all going to go to the courts. Yep.
I don't think. Okay. Well, without seeing evidence, I don't think that's what happened. But Andrew Tate gives hope to millions of men, Christian and Muslims. He appeals to Christians and Muslims, and just the average Joe Schmo guy who cannot land the average Joe Schmo girl.
Yeah,
not
that's probably true
problems.
that he gives them hope, meaning, and purpose. He's a cult leader.
Don't you give people hope, meaning, and purpose? Aren't you a cult leader in that sense too?
Yeah, me and Andrew Tate are both cult leaders.
Well, there you go.
But at least I don't have them fly over across the Atlantic and then set up webcams and all that sort of thing. And have women working beneath me telling them what to do. And I don't promise girls that I'll marry them, because I'm already happily married. Oh. But I agree with you that Andrew Tate and I are similar in that we both are good at holding a conversation, thinking quick on our feet. He's very charismatic. He's way better looking than I am and way more built than I am.
Me too.
But don't you think he's a bit of a cult leader?
He doesn't make his followers do crazy things. He doesn't call for action. You call for action. You're getting believers to not believe. So, and he's not even doing that. He's just saying, guys, toughen up.
I don't get believers not to believe. How do I do that?
You question, you crawl the line.
But then don't they have the free will to accept or reject what I say?
It is free will. I'm not saying it's manipulation. But he's not manipulating his followers either.
Well, no, earlier on, I did say that almost all conversation is a form of manipulation.
Okay.
Like, you're manipulating me right now. I'm manipulating you right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think Andrew Tate is good for the world?
Overall, no. That doesn't mean he can't do good things for the world.
Yeah, I'm sure. Horrible people do some good things. It's better? Do you agree it's better for people to remain virgins until they get married?
I lean yes on that. That will shock a lot of atheists. I would shock that shocks probably a lot of atheists.
Andrew Tate preaches that he's bringing back purity, in a good sense, whether it's through religion or whatever.
But he doesn't follow his own advice, right?
I would say his first 2 decades of life, no. His first 3 decades of life, no. But now he does.
You don't think under house arrest he hasn't had coitus a few times as an unmarried man?
I heard he. You got me there. He probably does.
Yeah.
It's our instincts.
I think Andrew Tate is using his charisma to manipulate young men, mostly Muslim men, but some non-Muslim, to follow his cult following, to send him money through his courses, and then he manipulates women to make him money doing OnlyFans and TikTok. So he has a very strong business model of manipulating both men and women to get him money. Now the real question is, how much of that's illegal?
Yeah, that gets to the whole legal thing. I want to talk more about his message. I haven't bought his university because I heard it's kind of a scam. It's nothing you can't learn on YouTube. But he's inspired me to stand up, like be tougher with my wife, not care if she gets mad or not. I'm not gonna look for other. Yeah, I'm not gonna look for other girls. But if I'm in a marriage for 2 years without any intercourse, I might just take Andrew Tate's advice.
So you threaten your wife with adultery if she doesn't do what you want? that what you're saying?
It could be the lesser of two evils than being in a marriage where there's no love, there's no affection. She's just given up on romance.
Wait a minute.
Like,
So
it's not fair.
you want the romance, or she wants the romance?
No. Where the guy wants romance, and the woman is checked out.
No, but we're talking about you right now. Like you mentioned, Andrew Tate helped you. You said to be tougher with your wife.
Yeah. Well, just tougher overall. Confidence, self-confidence.
Like I agree that it is not the husband's responsibility to make the wife happy, because ultimately happiness is the responsibility of the individual.
Yeah.
Now you can definitely do things to your spouse to make them unhappy, but you can also do things to try to make them happy or help them be happy, and they're still unhappy. So in that sense, I understand and kind of agree with what Andrew Tate's saying. But if it's basically do what I want, or I'm going to go sleep with other women, then no, I don't agree with Andrew Tate. If that's what he's teaching you,
That's an oversimplification, but essentially, if you don't want to act like my wife, and I'm treating you well, I'm doing my job, but you're not doing your job as a wife, why should I put up with that? And
so are you saying
after a
your
long-
wife is not giving you sex?
oh no, I'm fine. I'm doing just fine in that department. But many men's groups I'm in, they have that problem.
Yeah.
And so Andrew Tate is doing the work similar to Jesus Christ, where he's strengthening men, he's giving them hope, and he's saying men don't have to put up with.
So you agree with my title that Andrew Tate is like Jesus?
In that sense, in the message, it's a message that strengthens people's lives and gives people hope. I just wanted to see where you stood on that. I'm not sure if you're.
Well, I don't disagree that he gives
criticizing
people hope, that he encourages and empowers young men, because he's doing the opposite of where the pendulum has been in the past decade or so. So now he's in a way kind of making the young man the victim and upholding them.
Well, he's saying we're not victims. He's saying we've been acting like victims, and we don't have to. We don't have to put up with that nonsense. So, and Andrew Tate has actually helped me with keep my belief in God, because he's saying there is a God. He used to be an atheist, and now he's converted. He's saying there's evil in this world.
Are you
So
a
if
Christian or
there's evil in
Muslim?
this world- Christian.
Okay.
So there are good reasons why I would say there probably isn't a God, but Andrew Tate makes a really good point, which I'm still holding on to, because one reason, because what Andrew Tate says, he's saying if there's evil in this world, then there has to be good. There has to be a higher being. that's
It
good.
depends how you define evil, though, right?
Yeah.
Like if evil is defined as just bad things that we don't want happen, then there doesn't have to be a God. You can have evil without a God, if that's how you define evil. Because I would say there's evil in the world, and I don't believe God exists.
How can there be evil if there's no God?
Were you just listening to what I was said? How do I define evil?
Bad things happening in the world,
Yeah.
but you're defining it as bad.
Bad things happening based on what I don't desire, like basically based on my standard of morality.
Right. Under
Right.
naturalistic. Right. Bad things. Okay. So you're calling it bad. If a turtle eats a fish,
Not bad.
it's not bad. But for the fish, so for the fish is bad though. You could say
Yeah, my moral
You can't
framework only counts amongst the Homo sapien species.
so. There's a distinction between animal and human. For you.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I'm a
that
species.
proves
I'm a
there's a-
speciesist.
So then that proves there's a God.
How does that prove? How does that follow? That because there's atheists who are vegans. You've seen those crazy people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would not say what I just said. They're not speciesist, whatever. They think that if you get dairy from a cow, you're raping the cow. I don't say that.
Okay, those are the extremes.
Well, no, unfortunately, there's a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah, like if an animal abuses Tate, but replace tape, but replace the word T with R. Um, if an animal does that to another animal, we can't say that's evil. But if
Right.
a human does it, we can say that is evil. And
I would,
why
yeah,
that
I agree.
distinction?
But think about this scary thing. Well, for you, it might be scary. I would say in the earliest stages of Homo sapiens evolving, rape was fine.
So you're saying it's okay? It was okay.
Yeah, probably 300,000 years ago, before we even developed vocal cords. I mean, we were basically like one chimp seeing another chimp. It's not like, wine and dine, asking permission, making sure you get consent. It's no, there's a hole and my thing's going in it. That's probably how it happened in the early stages of Homo sapiens development.
Yeah, just like animals.
So it wasn't like clear consent. Now, the female Homo sapien could have, turned around and smacked them. And then it's up to the tribe at that point to say, well, is this too far or whatever? But yeah, morality has evolved over time. And now we're at the point where rape is immoral.
But you can't say it's evil.
Well, and evil, yeah. For an atheist, for a naturalist, evil is defined as against a certain standard that has nothing to do with a god. And it usually has to do with unnecessary suffering or net well-being.
Right. Suffering in nature, it just is. I don't even know why you're saying it's bad.
No, it's for humans.
Without God.
For humans.
For humans. Yeah, for humans.
Yeah.
It's just because we're just products of nature.
Yep. We're just products of nature.
So extinct.
You're not important, Xavier.
So if we all get extinct, it's not bad.
Actually, no. I'm the type of person who would say that if the only way this would work, though, is if a God existed. But I think you would agree with this. Tell me if you agree with this. If God blinked his eyes and just vanished our universe, poof, we're gone. Is that bad?
No, because God did it.
Yeah. So there you go. Thanks for calling in.
Take care.
Jacob Smith. This has to be a Mormon. Are you a Mormon?
Yes.
Are you seriously?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
No, I wanted to ask you about your position on the vegan thing with the rape comment.
Yeah.
How do farmers get the dairy? What's that process look like? Do you know?
Yeah. Well, it depends. You can do it naturally through bulls or what, depending on the type of milk. If it's goat milk, whatever. What do they call a male goat? I forget. Or they do artificial insemination to get the cow pregnant. And then sometimes they take the calf away and take all the milk. Sometimes they leave the calf and take the excess milk. Are you vegan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm totally comfortable with being called a rapist or a murderer. That's fine.
Well, you act like that's crazy to say, but then you're okay with it.
It is crazy to say, in my opinion.
Why though?
Because I think the terms rape and murder should be applied to humans, not to humans to animals, or within animals even.
What if you rape an animal?
Oh, actually rape an animal?
Yeah. Would you call that something else?
Yeah, I'd probably call that bestiality or something.
Well, it's not rape.
No, I wouldn't call it rape.
Okay. No, I mean, I agree with a lot of conservative values. I would say I don't like the term conservative. I'm still trying to figure that what I would identify as politically, but I share a lot of views as you do. I just don't say conservative. But yeah, I don't think it's
so you're
crazy.
You lean conservative, but yet you're a vegan. That's rare.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll give you that. And I'm atheist.
That means your wife must be a vegan.
She is. This PineCreek theorem
Uh-huh.
on veganism.
Who
She was
ca-
vegetarian when we started dating.
And you were a
And
meat eater, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. See, your wife is controlling you.
I went vegan first.
Yeah, but she was vegetarian before you.
God darn it.
Yeah. You just doing this for the coitus.
Oh man, you caught me.
If you get
Well, it's been
divorced, if
almost
you get
10 years.
divorced, I'm not. I hope you don't. But if you ever get divorced and remarried, and you marry a carnivore, you're going carnivore.
That's it. Okay.
That's my
Well,
prophecy for you. And
well,
or if your current wife, who I hope you stay married, if your current wife goes carnivore or omnivore, you will follow, because it's going to be so, both for practical reasons and for coitus reasons. Like if she does any of the cooking, she's going to cook meat, and you're going to say, "Oh, that smells good." Oh, and then you're going to start eating meat again.
well, when we started dating, I was eating out of 7-Eleven, fast food, whatever. I didn't care what I was eating. I was just eating straight garbage, and she started making me home cooked meals, and I was like, "Dang, this is good. This is good. This is a lot better than the garbage I'm eating." And she would make herself food, and then she would make me food that she wouldn't eat, and I felt like it was easier
Yeah.
to just eat one meal.
I have nothing against vegans, if they don't kind of like preach it like evangelical Christians, like you have to convert to, or even if you don't, you're immoral and a bad person. And I don't have anything. Well, yeah, I don't have anything against vegans as long as they don't try to justify it morally. If you do it because you feel better, great, that's fine. But I think 90% of everyone who's say they're vegan, within a few years, 5 years or something, they end up leaving it. How long have you been vegan?
I went vegan like New Year's 2015. So
Okay, you're over the hump.
I'm over the hump.
You might
yeah.
last.
And I definitely was emotionally moved by a lot of the vegan, like what would you call it? It's not like an argument so much, but it's like emotionally charged.
Yeah, like the animals being abused and stuff.
I mean, I believe that's true. I believe that's the case.
Oh yeah, some
But-
animals are definitely abused, and I'm against that too.
I mean, 90.
But I have no problem killing animals. But I don't want animals to suffer. But to kill an animal, to kill a cow that's been domesticated to provide meat for us, that's the point of their existence. I have no problem. I would feel zero guilt to taking a gun that would kill that animal like in a split second, putting it right through its head. Zero guilt.
But you would have a problem if somebody did that to a human.
Yeah, because I'm a speciesist.
Right.
Yeah. You are more valuable than 1 billion cows, Jacob. Well, maybe not 1 billion. You look at least 1 million. Technically, you know how much the average human's worth?
Worth in what?
In money, in US dollars? Do you know that actuaries put a dollar value on human worth?
No, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it is. Like if you died, we could harvest your organs and sell it, and you are worth $8.5 million. With the beard,
Really?
probably with the beard, I'll round up to 9 million.
Okay.
Because we could probably shave off your beard and give it to a kid with cancer. Could you imagine a kid with cancer wearing your beard as a toupee? That wouldn't look good. But no, yeah. So and the
Sometimes
average,
I take my baby's head and just stick it right here, just to put it around her face.
yeah,
See what she looks like with hair.
make TikTok videos and sell it to Andrew Tate. But the average steer that's slaughtered is probably worth $2,000. So you are worth
$2,000?
Yeah, maybe more. Well, that was maybe 3,000. Because there's a lot of pounds of meat there. Like I'm thinking about big steers. Because I know when I had heifers, we would sell them for like 1,200 a piece. Full-grown steer at 2,500 pounds. I don't know what's the price of beef. It could be 4,000. But you're worth 8.5 million, and let's say a steer is worth 4,000. You are worth the same amount as 2,125 steers.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought I needed to calculate that out, but I thought that was interesting. But no, you can't murder animals, you can't rape animals. But even if you wanted to say I'm fine with that. There's no way you can guilt trip me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and you don't have a problem with vegans as long as they just
Keep
try
to
not to.
Yeah, as long as they keep to themselves and stay their own little cult.
So, like, if we go to a restaurant together and I ask for a vegan menu, you'd be like, "Oh, that's fine. That's just his diet."
Yeah, that's
you wouldn't
fine.
be like, "Oh,
That's
yeah."
fine. I'm without exaggeration, I'm 80% vegetarian myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I eat egg whites, chicken, salmon, but other than that, the rest is all vegetables, rice, oatmeal. What else do I eat? Potatoes. Yeah. Green beans, green asparagus. I love asparagus. Oh, Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts.
But you don't think you can murder an animal?
No. But it's just a matter of definitions, right? Like you could say, by definition, I think you can murder an animal, and then we just agree to disagree.
How do you define murder?
The illegal killing of one human to another. So under that definition,
so it has to be human to fit your definition.
yes. But notice that definition also includes abortion, so you got to be careful.
What about like you don't think you can kill?
No, abortion in some states, some abortion would be okay, would not be murder.
What about like a chimpanzee?
No, it's not a human.
Okay, so you can kill those.
No, I'm not saying you can or cannot. I'm saying I wouldn't call it murder.
You just call it killing?
I'm pushing back against so you can kill those. No, I'm not saying go out there.
I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you are, but you wouldn't feel any kind of like emotional like response, like if somebody came in your house and like started cutting your dog.
Oh no, I would. Jacob,
but
don't be silly.
You wouldn't be like, you just be, oh, you killed my. Well, okay, yeah.
I'm dead inside, but not that dead.
Yeah, but you would say, oh, you ruined my property, or would you be like, you murdered my dog for no reason?
I would say you killed my dog.
Yeah, with a knife.
Yeah, I would say that's terrible because I have a relationship with that dog. I love that dog. And for the same reason, if I wouldn't kill someone's cow if they had a relationship with the cow, if they loved that cow, let Bessie live.
And you worked on a farm when you were growing up, and
yes,
and you had cows.
We had steers and heifers, and turkeys and laying hens, but we were mostly a potato farm, and then later on grain farm.
So no dairy cows.
No dairy. That's too much work.
Okay. Well, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've seen videos of them taking those babies away from the mother, and they scream and cry for days, or weeks even. And I don't know. I haven't seen that with my own eyes. That might be vegan propaganda.
I haven't seen that either, but I mean, they're going to a good home.
The forever home?
Where they're going to be fed or have coitus.
Or fed to somebody else. The babies?
If it's a heifer.
I hear the dairy cows have like the worst life that you can have because they're artificially inseminated and made to be pregnant,
Why is
and
that
then
bad?
are being artificially inseminated.
Yeah, it feels good. Haven't you had that done? You've had a colonoscopy, right?
No,
Oh yeah, it's not that bad. I can hardly wait till my next one. You just get a
but you're
thing
not
shoved
being
up.
made pregnant. I've had 2 kids, and I've seen how hard it is on my wife and her body to be pregnant, and being made pregnant and carrying a baby for 9 months, and then having the baby removed, and then being milked.
So you're saying
And
that
then
the
being-
cow's thinking, "Oh no, this is number 20. I've had enough of motherhood." You think
Well,
that's
I mean,
how
just
the cow
being
thinks?
strapped up to a milk machine, like in like
Oh, it's very
99.
comfortable. I've seen like I live about an hour and 20 minutes away from one of the biggest dairy farms in the continent. Shamrock Farms it's called, and it's cleaner than your kitchen. I don't know who your wife is or who cleans your kitchen, but their facilities are clean, and the cows, everything's computerized and robots. They walk in, they got a little screen there, they got the robots, the things come down and up onto there, and it's like gently massaging. It's like getting a back rub twice a day. I mean, they can watch movies while they get milked. There's music.
Really?
There's no, maybe not the movies, but
Movies and massages and
music and yeah, it's if
okay.
I have a feeling if I could turn you into a cow, a dairy cow, and let you live for a week, like as a milking cow, and turn you back to Jacob Smith, the guy I see here, you would say, I want to go back to the cow. I mean, I get free food, I get a free massage. As soon as I get sick, I will be killed. I don't have to suffer. I mean, it's a great life.
I don't have to continue all this back-breaking labor every day.
Like look at you now. You have to pay the government the taxes. You got to pay the mortgage and the electric bill. Cows don't have to do that. They have it easy.
Oh, okay.
Because of us. Because of the dairy, the milk drinkers, and the cheese lovers.
Have you been to that facility that you're telling me about?
Yes.
You've been in there?
I've been in there with they do tours. Or tours.
Okay, well,
as some
maybe
people say.
I should go check something like that out.
Yes.
'Cause I drive by some of those facilities, and you can smell them from miles away. It
You're
smells
thinking
horrible.
of feedlots. I'm talking about dairy farms. There's a difference. Feedlots
Okay.
smell like bad, but not dairy farms. So yeah, what state are you in?
Texas.
I'm sure they have dairy farms in Texas. But yeah, look in the yellow pages online, yellow pages, and take a tour if they do tours. It might change
All
your
right.
mind of how well they're treated.
Okay.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, you bet. We're not all crazy. Some of us are normal.
Yes, I understand. I'm sure you're not crazy, and I was just giving you a hard time. But
That's okay.
I was serious about, like, if your wife eats meat again, you're done. You'll be
Okay.
eating meat soon.
Well, I appreciate you and what you do. You give me lots of valuable entertainment every week, and you help me to become more dead inside. So,
Excellent. Yes.
see you later.
See ya. That's probably the best conversation I've ever had with a vegan. Usually they're so uptight. Not Jacob. He's more chill. Yeah, anybody here from Texas who knows where there's dairy farms with tours? I actually don't mind the smell of feedlots, especially if they feed the steers corn silage. To me, that's sweet smelling. Okay, no more calls. Why do they always call in at the end? We'll see you Thursday.